Hello, Mary Marshall here, registered nurse, health coach, concierge, and educator. I am here to share with you this little video and my slide set with some helpful tips and concepts that apply especially to weight loss or, more importantly, control and confidence around food and eating. So I hope you enjoy this little slide set. So let me just share my screen here and get started. All right. So we're going to talk about calorie density and some other useful concepts. All right. Maybe. Oops. So calorie density is different than counting calories. And counting calories actually is who's going to sign up for that all the days of their life, right? And it gives some good awareness, but it's not practical, it's not accurate, and it really hasn't been shown to work. But having an awareness of calorie density, that's weight per or calories per weight of different types of food, can be really helpful. And this is a good example. This slide, this is from Forks Over Knives, and this shows how that 500 calories shows up in your stomach on average. So here's 500 calories of oil. Here's 500 calories of cheese. You see, if you fill your stomach up with, not that someone's going to fill their stomach up with oil, but back in my day when I ate differently, I could probably fill my belly up with cheese. And you see, like just this little bit, is 500 calories. You fill your belly up with cheese, that's a lot of calories. Meat as well, it's very calorie dense, right? It doesn't take a lot of meat to create a lot of calories, right? And if you fill your belly up with that, you're ingesting a lot of calories. Now, when you get into things like your whole food starches, potatoes, rice, beans, look at that. The stomach's, I'd say like 4/5 full, right? So those foods are very calorie dilute, right? So they don't have a lot of calories, but yet they fill the stomach up, creating fullness. And then there's fruits and veggies that just totally, 500 calories totally fills the stomach. Now, this is why when the combination of fruits and vegetables and your whole food starches really help to keep you full and keep you satisfied, right? Because we have two different ways of satisfying our hunger. We have stretch receptors in our stomach, right? And so when the stomach gets full, our brain is like, oh, my belly's full. But we also have something called nutrient receptors. And when they measure calories. So we also need enough nutrients for our body to feel satisfied. We need enough calories. So when you have things like potatoes, beans, and starches, they're a little bit more calorie dense than veggies, fruits and veggies. So when you combine the two, you can really satisfy both those nutrient receptors and those stretch receptors as well. And here's a chart looking at calorie density. These are calories per gram. So lettuce, spinach, right? Not even a calorie in a gram. But look over here at a hamburger, almost 3 calories per gram. So look at it's a bajillion times more calorie dense. Mayonnaise, 3.86 calories in a gram, and a gram's a teeny tiny little bit. Butter, olive oil, look how those compare. Here's my pointer. Look how these compare. Peanuts, Nutella, right, to things like a banana, which is less than 1 calorie per gram. Or an orange, it's half a calorie per gram. Strawberries, 0.32 calories per gram. So, and if you look, you can see whole wheat bread and white bread, they're both like we think whole wheat bread, healthy food. It's really, just as calorie dense as white bread, right? Super dense. So, so that can just be now the thing with brown rice is you've got all those nutrients, right? And then more of the insoluble fiber as well. White rice is just the starch that you get, the carbohydrate that's in the white part of the rice. All right. So this is a good guide to having some of this awareness. And if you think about calorie density, it is there are two things that make foods more calorie dilute or less calorically dense, and those are water and fiber. Right? So the less fiber something has, the more, and the less water something has, the more calorie dense it is. That's why your fruits, your veggies, right, are very calorie dilute. You can fill the whole belly up for 500 calories and then some. Starches like your potatoes, corn, your beans, sweet potatoes. Those are also very calorie dilute. You get a lot of bang for your buck that way because they have a ton of fiber. They have less water than say things like watermelon or a lot of fruits or juices. And here's a good comparison here. If you look at grapes, they have 0.69 calories per gram, so less than a calorie per gram. But right over here are raisins. All right, raisins have, let's see, 5 times, 4 or 5, over 4 times, about 4.5 times the calories per gram than grapes do. Why is that? What are grapes? They're dehydrated raisins. All the water is taken out, and you've still got fiber, but you've got that concentrated sugar in the grapes. And again, look at your oils here, so calorically dense. Some folks, they recommend using calorically dense calorie density, and they say eat above the red line. And so that's your vegetables have about 100 calories per pound, fruits 300 calories per pound. You see your whole food starches, potatoes, corn, squash, and oats, beans and legumes. And down as you get more calorically dense, high fat plant foods like avocados or olives, things like that. And then look, we get into some scary territory. Ice cream, 1,200 calories per pound. Bread, bagels, wraps, all of that very calorie dense. And I'm not going to read that whole sheet. Look at the low or the far end of this little chart here. Your nuts, seeds, butters, those kinds of things. Tahini is made with ground up sesame seeds. So ground up seeds, ground up your nut butters, things like that. Another tool that's very helpful to use is a hunger scale. And you can see all sorts of hunger scales on the internet. This is just one. I've made one up also. It really goes from, so hungry you're about to pass out on the low end of the scale and generally you use a 1 to 10 scale, and 10 is like Thanksgiving dinner, you've eaten so much you're almost sick, right? You are not hungry at all. And you can use a hunger scale, not to, I don't, if you wait till you are that hungry and pay attention to what happens, when you are at different levels, pay attention to how they affect you at different levels on the hunger scale. If you're 7 or higher on the hunger scale, you might not be bodily hungry, right? But maybe you're wanting to eat, and you might explore, well, what do I really want? Am I bored? Do I need entertained? Am I anxious? am I angry? Um, what is it usually? Am I lonely? Do I need compassion or some connection with someone? Do I need some what? Not to decide if you're eating when you should or not, but to check in with what you really need, right? And to check in with how you're taking care of yourself. And it's also can be very enlightening to use a hunger scale when you're done eating and to kind of figure out, do I like to eat when till I'm uncomfortable? Do I seem to feel like I'm not done eating unless I'm uncomfortable or not, right? So that can be useful information too. So when you're using a hunger scale, you want to be self-aware, pay attention to your physical sensations, right? What's going on in your body? Is your mouth watering? Is your tummy growling? Are you feeling a little dizzy or are you sweating? Hopefully you're not waiting that long to eat. Do you have emotions going on, right? We talked about lonely, angry, anxious, right? Or are you feeling guilty about eating? So check in with curiosity and compassion. And I always advise people make observations, not judgments, right? So be curious, say, notice what's going on, right? And that doesn't mean you're right, you're wrong, you're good, you're bad, right? But this is information for you to use to figure out how to help yourself and feed yourself. Attuned eating. And this is really a big part of kind of developing control around food. And this is an important thing to tune into. And using things like the hunger scale can be really helpful. And that really means paying attention to your body's signals and eating in response to your body's signals instead of eating in response to situations or emotions, right? And and attuned eating kind of looks to discover for you to ask yourself, what am I hungry for, right? Do I want something hot, something cold, something smooth, something crunchy, something spicy, something cooling? So you can, do all sorts of exploration around attuned eating. So again, sometimes do I want something sweet or do I want something salty? And so if you try to give yourself what you really want, then you're satisfied and you're satisfied quicker instead of you keep trying to eat other things until you finally give in and eat the thing you really want. And that doesn't mean, oh, I want a Snickers bar, right? That kind of means, oh, I want something sweet maybe, or maybe there's something else going on. All right. Why can't I advance? Okay, hang on one second. The slide isn't wanting to advance. Let me just pause recording for 1 moment, please. Okay, sorry. Okay. Let's see if we can start back up again here. Zoom's giving me a little bit of fits tonight. So, maybe not. All right, we talked about attuned eating, and part of attuned eating, another important part of attuned eating is honoring cravings. And a lot of people are surprised when they hear a weight loss coach say that. But the thing about cravings is if you can honor a craving, or what the recommended way to that I share with people to deal with cravings is to eat what you're craving, but with awareness, with enjoyment, and only until the craving is satisfied. And that is the tricky part, right? Sometimes I think we enjoy something we're craving, especially if it's kind of rich and decadent, and we start the bargaining in our head, like, well, I'm not going to have it again for who knows how long. So we don't want to eat just a couple of bites till we're satisfied. We want to eat the whole thing while we have it, even if we kind of stop enjoying it after the first couple of bites. And I can remember doing this with French fries. And I remember, going through the drive-through and getting French fries. And the first couple were really good, but then not so much, right? They're cold and greasy after a while, but somehow you still keep eating them till they're gone because you paid for them, or because you got fries and that's just what you do with fries. I mean, all kinds of stuff goes on in our heads, right? So consider honoring cravings, but with awareness, right? And with mindfulness, and only until the craving is satisfied. And once it is, and if you're eating mindfully, then you're aware of that, and you notice when it stops being so good and stops being so quite so satisfying. So kind of try to keep that on your radar. All right. So another thing I want to talk about is some of the beliefs we have in food, and these are some important concepts to keep in mind. Sometimes we have these ideas about food, like there's good foods and there's bad foods. And really, food is food. There are foods that nurture you better, and there are some, I would say, there are some bad foods. Foods, trans fats. And that's not really a food; that's a product. But any kind of food eaten in, even something you might say, oh, like a cheesecake or something. That's, I don't think that's a bad food. It's not something I eat, but, or I don't eat it very often. So try to check the beliefs about good food versus bad food. And you eat food to satisfy hunger. Sometimes you want to try to learn to eat food to satisfy hunger, not to satisfy other needs, right? But having this belief that good foods are bad food, it kind of just messes with your head and how you end up eating and dealing with food. On the other hand, there also aren't magical foods, right? Now, plant foods, whole plant foods are, they can do so much for us. It seems magical, but even within that category of plants, sometimes, I remember when chia seeds were a phase, right? And I remember my sister-in-law, oh, we bought chia seeds and we're eating chia seeds, and chia seeds are fine, but you can eat all the chia seeds you want, but it's the dietary pattern that you have to get right? Eating most real food, not too much, mostly plants, as Michael Pollan says, right? So no magical foods. Sprouts. So sprouts are great, right? But they're not magical. Right? So it's getting the dietary pattern right. what approach, like your approach to health and to weight loss, um, can be critical in the type of success that you have. Taking a more health focused versus a weight focused approach is very helpful. And I even kind of shift the focus even more to self care, right? Really taking compassionate, mindful care of yourself and your well being. And approaches to weight loss that focus on health, right? Because health is so much more than your weight, right? It is diet. It's impacted by diet and exercise. It's also impacted by your stress levels, your ability to get outside, to have connection, to have purpose. And when they focus on when a health focused approach is taken, actually, ironically, almost there's usually more weight loss, and it's sustained and it's maintained much better. There's less errors, improve better with or without weight loss. So when people learn to care for their health in the right way. So that's an important message to hear. All right, and that is my little slide set. I apologize for the technical difficulties, and I hope you enjoy this. I hope it's meaningful and helpful. And if I can help you further, please reach out, Mary at eat-learn-live.com. Bye-bye.